Welcome to soaps.com. I'm Kristen Burt. Today we have a One Life to Live reunion. Joining us, and I'm so excited about this, is David A. Gregory and John Wesley Ship. Also, I should note, a two-time daytime Emmy Award winner.
Guilty.
Guilty as charged. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
I'm good, Kristen. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so great to see both of your faces. And I love that after all of these years later, this is not your first reunion back together. This is going to be your second, if I'm correct. Third.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Why don't you tell him, David?
Yeah, let's talk about what you're doing at least. Let's talk about the present, and then we can talk about what else you've done in the past together. Because I know you'll be in North Carolina, the Caine Mutiny Court-Martial. Tell us all about this.
John, you want to take it from here only because you've been to Judson Theatre Company before. John has worked there 9 years ago.
I have. I just, I don't want to be that guy,
No, you can.
Let me tell you all about it.
Be the guy.
Here, Sonny, let me show you how to be a superhero. I'm not going to be that guy. Yeah, I went to the Judson Theater, I think it was 2016, to do a terrific production of 12 Angry Men. And Morgan Sills, who is artistic director of that theater, he puts on these seasons, and his whole template is you have a short, intense rehearsal period of like 10 or 12 days, and then you do 5 performances over one weekend, So he can get professional actors who are working actors who can't make a long-term commitment to go to Pinehurst, North Carolina, as beautiful as it is. And I am so sorry. That's me. We're going to just turn that right off.
You have a chime. As soon as you said Pinehurst, North Carolina, it went ding.
It's all magical.
Yeah.
What does it mean? What does it mean? But it's great, and I also love their mission statement, which is they reach out to the schools. I know when we did 12 Angry Men, the Moorhead Foundation bought the play and sent it to 3 or 5 high schools. And they studied the play. They studied it against the backdrop of the Constitution. What Bill of Rights? What were we talking about? What was the author dealing with? And we had 600 students come to a matinee, and man, they were on it. As soon as we got to a beat, they knew what we were talking about, why we were talking about it, and it was one of the most exciting experiences I have had, So when Morgan talked to me about the possibility of coming back there, it was a no-brainer. Of course, Pinehurst, North Carolina, the end of April, golf, one of the most beautiful places. So that's my history.
How did you rope David into it then? Or is this a coincidence? I can't be.
No, let me tell you, I'll keep talking until David jumps in, tells me to shut up.
You're doing great.
First of all, you said reunion. I'm like, for the soap watchers, I'm not sure that they would greet a Ford family reunion as a positive thing. But
they're demonic.
Abusive Eddie Ford. But Bobby was the one, the oldest son. He's the one that stood up. When we got done with that, David and I have collaborated on it. David produced, wrote, and also voice acted in a podcast Western called Powder Burns, which you can find at Powder Burns Western. And it was, 7 episodes, David?
7 episodes, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
It was built around, it was ingenious, really, because it was a podcast. There was nothing to see. It was all, you were listening. And so I played a blind sheriff in the Old West in the late 1800s. And the concept was, see the Old West the way Sheriff Burns does, without sight. And so every episode was atmospheric, whether it was snow or it was rain. Noah, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, our engineer.
Noah DeBias.
DeBias. I was going to say
Yes,
DeBlase. I knew that wasn't right. But brilliant. I mean, and we got Ed Asner to guest star. We got Robert Vaughn to guest star. And I'm very proud of it. David won, and we all won the storytelling primarily and performance award to Society of Vocal Arts and Sciences, which is the big award ceremony for the spoken word on podcasts. So we won that award. And then David wrote a play.
I did. Are you throwing it to me now?
I
You
think so.
bet.
I think so.
So when we finished, so Powder Burns, we recorded between 2015 and 2018, and when we were done, I got really sad that John and I didn't have something to work on. So I had been tinkering with this play about Henry Fonda and Jimmy Stewart for a few years by that point. And at the time, it was a two-person play. And I asked John, I was like, are you willing to come in and do a reading of this for me? And we did a reading in New York City with another actor who's currently on Broadway playing Dr. Dillamond in Wicked. His name is Bill Humans, and he looks and sounds just like Jimmy Stewart. So, of course, John was playing Henry Fonda. We did this reading, and then John took it to two New York producers at Sunny Spot Productions here in New York City, and then we all went down to New Orleans to do a workshop production of it in 2019. And I gotta say, that's part of the reason why we're doing this play now. John and I have always been in each other's orbit and always like throwing each other little lines here and there. And for me, as someone, you get known for doing something on a soap opera, and oftentimes when you sort of switch and transition gears professionally, a lot of people don't really jump on that right away. And John is somebody that has always been like, hey, you want to come do this with me? Let's go do this together. And I'm very grateful for that because of John's involvement at Judson Theatre Company. He said to Morgan, hey, you should bring David down as well. And that's how we're doing this together, sort of like another kind of reunion, like here's the soap father and son back together. But because John and I have been keeping in touch and have been doing these, the readings and the workshops of the Henry Fonda and Jimmy Stewart play, the Powder Burns, we've sort of stayed in each other's orbit so that this doesn't feel like oh, we have to pick up where we left off 15 years ago. We have a shorthand now that we can just jump right in, and I couldn't be happier. I wish the run was longer. I think we're gonna get down there and wish we had longer than 2 weeks.
Be careful what you ask for. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, sure.
Depending on the audience. But again, we went at each other. He was the oldest son in One Life to Live. He pushed back against Eddie's abuse. In this play, we go at each other again, and it's so exciting because David's so resourceful and so committed. Not everybody you work with, says, no, I'm not going to take my break. We're going to figure out, okay, we did that. This happened. This happened. What if we turned this around? What if we, so it's been a great, he said it's been great for him. It's been great for me, to continue this creative collaboration.
Yeah, that's exactly what I kind of want to know, because you guys have great chemistry. Did you ever think after your last episodes together on One Life to Live that, fast forward to 2025, you guys would have this continuing, not only friendship, but working relationship?
I always hope so. I think the thing is, it's what people feel when they watch the show, because unlike primetime shows, you're in people's homes 5 days a week. So people do feel more like family. And I felt a real tremendous sense of loss, and I wasn't on the show for as long as some people were. But I felt the need, it's very much a part of my personality, to reach out to those people and to keep them in my orbit. And I think John and I are both guilty of this. We don't want to burden the other, so we don't always reach out when we want to. And John came back into my life. So the show went off the air in 2012. John came back into my life when I was doing a play up in Hartford, Connecticut. And he
That's right.
came out and saw it in 2014 and said, oh, yeah, by the way, I live, permanently on the East Coast right now. And I thought, well, what are we doing? And then by 2015, we had already started working on Powder Burn. So, and that was, 10 years ago now. So,
what was the name of your play? It was Vanya,
Vanya, Sonia, and Masha and Spike up at Hartford.
There you go. He did that at the Hartford
at
the Hartford stage. It was a wonderful production.
Thank you. But
Well,
that's to your point. That's how I think we always want to keep in touch with those people, but I don't think anybody wants to overstep or, yeah, for my part, I missed him, and it was good to see him again, and it's been good ever since.
Yeah, yes. No, and it's great. I mean, if it's something that's working, it should be something that continues on in your work life, because obviously you guys can get along personally, and then on stage, it's fine if you go at each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. We have total permission, to do that, because we trust each other. I trust David. I believe David trusts me. But who knew that David was as talented in various positions within entertainment as he is? Who knew that he'd write a play about Henry Fonda and Jimmy Stewart and all the levels that we find out in that play. And after our first reading in front of a divided audience in New York, the comment was, I can't believe this is your first play. I mean, we heard that again and again and again. Jimmy Stewart's daughter said, it's so interesting what you accomplished. You took two men who said very little, and wrote what they would have said to each other if they had had the words. So he's a brilliant writer. And then he comes up with producing this podcast, writing it, getting Ed Asner and Robert Vaughn. I'm so lucky to have worked with them before they passed. So yeah.
I gotta, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to dovetail on that and say, I think a lot of people have talents that maybe don't get recognized because there aren't enough people around them that will say, hey, you can do this. And I'm not blowing smoke to that end. If John had said no to the podcast or no to doing the play, I don't know if I would have grown in the confidence that I needed to know that I was a good writer. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of good people out there that, oh, I can't write. And it's like, well, maybe no one told you you can. And I think we have good directors. I think we have good producers. I think we have a lot of people that maybe are missing opportunities because people aren't throwing fuel on the fire in the first place. And I can say, and I would say this without John in the virtual room, that had he not thrown fuel on that fire, I don't know if I would have had the confidence to keep going. Sometimes it only takes one person to be like, I remember I'd asked John, because I knew he was busy with The Flash, to do Powder Burns, but I had initially asked him to play the villain, which would come on in one episode and leave in another episode. And he responded in an email and he said, David, whatever you need, I will be there. And I went, well, then wait a minute. Would you like to play the lead? Because I'd actually rather have you do that. I just didn't want to encroach on his, schedule because I knew when the new Flash came along that he was about to get very busy. And to his credit, and we haven't mentioned this yet, he was also recording those episodes and doing all of this while also going to Vancouver and shooting the show. So I think sometimes people just need a little encouragement. I'm someone, I want to do the same thing. Jack Lemmon talks about sending the elevator back down. If someone has brought you to a high floor, you better reach down and help those other people that need the same thing you did. So John's done that for me. I will continue to do that. And that's my state of the union about that.
No, that's great. It's like this continuation of like what started on the set of One Life to Live,
That's right.
continuing on all these decades later. I'd love to know from the two of you, have you ever thought about where the Fords would be today if they had survived in 2025?
I don't know where Bobby would be. I think he would be incredibly successful. I think my template for Eddie was he had dreams of being this big time crime boss, like the character Jerry Van Dorn played, but he was hopelessly inept. He would go to do something, but he'd just stumble over his own feet. He was incredibly clumsy, had delusions of grandeur. I think if Bobby had decided to follow in his footsteps, he would have been a very successful criminal. Whatever I think Bobby decided to do, he would have been successful doing. I think Eddie would either be dead or, I don't know, behind bars or in rehab. I don't know.
Nothing good.
Nothing good.
That's pretty accurate. I feel like this is before my time on the show, but I think about a lot when Phil Carey was alive and the cowboy iconography of the Buchanan family. And correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like in the 80s there were like flashbacks to they were on the set of like a Western. And sometimes I think because both John and I died on the show.
Right.
So sometimes I wonder if we're just in purgatory riding horses. I mean, I have a mustache now. I'm thinking, what if they're up to no good because they've been banished to this purgatory and they have to carry out, these Western.
That was a very interesting thing about our working relationship is that, I took Eddie all the way perilously close to vaudeville, perilously.
Yes.
I would add lines. I would say, can I crack up the cameraman?
Sure.
Or, and it played into the whole character until it got really dark. But then we got to the very last week of the show and Eddie and Bobby are in hell. And we had this very sort of existential, these black flats with the lights streaming in from behind it, these multi-layer black boxes. It was a very impressionistic set. And so I was like, wow, Eddie's playground, right? And so I'm hopping around like a gargoyle everywhere, and I'm adding my little asides, but I look over and I realize that David has something to say in this scene. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to step on it.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so I asked him, I said, I see what you're doing. You're doing a lot of internal work and you're taking this. I'm gonna pull Eddie back so that I don't, because immediately picked up on where he was going, the emotional build. And I could have totally made that more difficult. And I think it's who we both are with each other. During the periods when Eddie was barnstorming through, and we were trying to differentiate the three sons and the father's relationship. We said, "Well, Bobby's most like Eddie. Bobby is the one that can push back. Eddie will take more from Bobby." And so once that idea was introduced, we were like, "Okay, well, how can we show that? Well, what if I start this line and then you finish it?" Instead of me saying the whole line, or why don't you take this line? It's something Eddie would say, And so we were constantly on our five. And the biggest compliment we got was from one of the directors who told his girlfriend, and it got back to me. He said, it's amazing. He said, we have actors on this set, 5-minute breaks, they're on their cell phones. John and David are never 5-minute breaks. It's like, okay, what can we do? How can we fix this? How can we make it more fun? How can we make it better?
Yeah.
And it's just the way we are with each other. That's why I would jump at the chance. That's why I said, please, would I be willing? Whatever you need, I'm there.
You've both been at a daytime for a minute. Have you ever been approached by another soap to join their cast?
I got pretty close to going on Young and the Restless a while back, and I don't remember I remember what happened. My agent wrote me and was like, they ended up axing the character. They were like,
do you know what character it was? Do you remember?
No, I do not. I know that, how you get the scripts and it's a different name, right?
Yeah.
And it went far enough that my agent was like, they're asking about you. Would you be willing to relocate this whole thing? And I think this was during the pandemic. And then I wonder if it was a budgetary concern. I'm not sure, but all I was told is that they were in favor of it. And then they ended up being like, well, we're not gonna, and I understand it's, especially with a given cast that you already have, I understand when they're like, we're gonna instead focus on so-and-so or whatever, but
it became incredibly difficult. I had a multi-year contract with Ruby Herring Mysteries with Hallmark. And we got 2 of the movies done, and we were about to shoot a 3rd one, and everything shut down, and then the entire project went away. So it was very difficult. I don't know. I have not been approached by another
that's
soap.
Surprising.
Well,
John, you've got 2 daytime Emmys on your mantle.
But think about it. I ran around in my Speedo and I sang "You Needed Me" on Guiding Light. I played a raging psychopath with Julianne Moore on As the World Turns. I played a woman abuser on Santa Barbara. And then I came back and did this sort of outrageous character playing some things for comedy. They're like, we're good. it's like, yeah, I think we've seen him. I mean, I don't know, but no, I have.
John is. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. John is the only person in history to win back-to-back Emmys for 2 different soap operas. Is that correct?
It is correct. It is correct.
Amazing.
A friend of mine in LA called me. It wasn't impressed by, my career, what I had done, what. But he called me and said, "You'll never guess what just happened." I said, "What? What? You were a question on Jeopardy." He was so excited. I said, "What was the category?" He said, "Soaps." Who's the only actor to win back-to-back Emmys from 2 different shows? I'm like, "Did they get the answer?" He went, "Well, no."
But I feel like people could bring you back and do the complete opposite of what you've done in daytime. Because you've already done the outrageous.
I think so too.
Right.
I think
Totally.
so.
Totally. Yeah, because the most 3 recent 4, if you include all my children, Carter Jones, these were bad dudes.
Yeah.
The only thing that saved Eddie was he was hopelessly inept, but Carter was mean and smart on all my children. And
Mm.
it's been a wild ride. I mean, God, daytime has been very good to me.
Mm.
It has. And, we've got a new soap on the landscape. There's now 5. Beyond the
That's
Gates
right.
just premiered this week.
That's right.
So,
And they're based in Atlanta, right? They're in East
they
Coast.
are.
That's
They
right.
are.
We come as a package deal.
Let's make this happen, you guys.
I do it. I do
We got
it.
a
Yeah.
father and son back on daytime together. I can already see the headlines. I'm writing the story.
Well, I think John, both and I have family down south as well. So we could,
Yeah.
kill 2 birds with 1 stone and go visit family, and it'd be great.
We'll
That's
get
right.
you behind the Fairmont Estates. Yeah,
There we
let's
go.
do
There we
it.
go.
That's right. That's
Come
right.
into
That's where I
town.
stayed when I went to do Stargirl, which shot in Atlanta
Wow.
for
Wow.
CW.
I kind of like this. I don't know. I just feel like we're making this all happen. We'll just have to like plot out the storyline, and I guess which soap you actually wind up joining.
We believe in you, Kristen.
I love it.
We put our careers in your hands.
I don't know if you should do that.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
You're doing great, sweetie. Yeah, I don't know. I know you guys keep in touch. Do you keep in touch with any of your former One Life to Live castmates or anyone from other soaps? Because John, you've been on a lot.
I'm very close with the men that played my brothers. They're still very, very much in my life. And Lenny, of course, lives on the East Coast. Nick lives on the West Coast. But we've grown very, very close over the last decade and a half. And I still talk to Bree Williamson, Brittany Underwood, the Aldersons. I feel actually Eddie Alderson played John's son in an episode of Powder Burns. So I feel very much like I didn't know this was my personality until it started to happen. But I feel very almost like a shepherd. Like I like bringing people in. And I think John's bringing up all these memories of us shooting together. And I think I just thought that that's how it worked. I didn't realize how special. I didn't realize how special it was in the moment. Not that I took it for granted. I knew I was lucky every day of going to work there, but the fact that we would take our 5-minute breaks and work on stuff because we enjoyed each other. I just thought that's what people did. I thought everybody took working that way that seriously. And it wasn't until the soap was over and I went on to do other things that I was like, oh, I expected everything to be this family, and it's not.
Right.
And I gotta say, I think that's what I miss most about theater, because in theater you do get that. And since John is the only semblance of that I've had crossing from project to project, that's kind of the litmus test that I hold everything to. Are things going to feel like family? Are we going to take the work that seriously? Are we going to be that excited to go to work? Because not everybody is. But
we don't like all of our coworkers all the time.
That's right. But also, sometimes it is a job. But I think that that's the most important thing is I've realized what really counts. And anything less than is maybe not worth the time. You know what I'm saying? I feel so passionate about that. And that's a gold standard. So John, you've set that standard. And I think that's why not? I mean, why not? I remember being in a dressing room, we were going through lines and you said something. I've never forgot this. You said something.
I knew what you're gonna say.
You said something like, if you were being kind, but you're like, if we keep rehearsing this, I know you want to run lines, but we're going to bruise it. And he was right. We needed to just like let it percolate. And then you kind of get on set and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's the best feeling in the world. It's like flying. It's the best thing in the world.
And that's the thing about enthusiasm and commitment. That's the thing. And it's surprising the number of people you will work with who don't come from that place. So when you do find it, also, I want to say, the last time I saw Letty was at Hank and Jim Build a Plane is ongoing. Not with me, but it is ongoing, thankfully. And I went to see a performance of it as it is continuing to evolve and change, and Bruce and Jack are the producers are involved, and different directors have input. So it is an evolving thing that people need to keep looking out for, because it's a very important piece. And I think David should be celebrated as a writer as well as an actor. But yeah, Julianne Moore and I, every now and then, particularly politically, will shoot each other a text or, if something's happening in New York that I know she's going to be at, she'll go, I'll say, I understand you're so. Oh, John, are you here? I said, no, I'm actually in Vancouver, but I heard you're going to be there. Have a great time. So it's kind of like that. Marcia Clark, who played Hilary Bauer from on Guiding Light, and I talk every week. She is my longest, best, and dearest friend, and most hilarious person I have ever met. And yeah, so she and I do stay in touch. I can't think of anyone else that I'm really that much in contact with.
Well, I love hearing about the bonds, and I love hearing about your bond together. It's really just fun to watch this dynamic in action. And for fans who want to go see the show, April 24th through 27th.
That's correct.
Judson
That's right.
Theatre Company.
Judson Theatre Company in Pinehurst, North Carolina. That's right.
Which is in the Owens Auditorium, which has recently had an upgrade since I was there doing 12 Angry Men in 2016. So I can't wait to see what they've done with the Performing Arts Center. Very exciting.
Wonderful. I think they're going to be able to see your electricity live and in person. It's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. You guys are an absolute delight. This has just been so much fun.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.